heartfelt and humbling reception. It doesn't look necessarily like a humble event, but it is meant to help us to realize that we are the servant of the servant's servant, servant, servant. Because generally speaking, in this world, there's virtually no understanding of the goal of life. Practically material, not knowing the essential purpose of life, to please Krishna, to please the senses of the Lord. Most of our decisions are based upon pleasing our own senses. We tend to judge each other accordingly. And there's, unfortunately, very hard to establish a culture which is directed towards bringing pleasure to Krishna or to the Supreme. Real culture means that which helps to facilitate this goal. This is what human life is meant for. All of these, it is in one sense, you could say embarrassing, you could say maybe we could become proud thinking that we're somebody special. Different ways of looking at it when we have such a cultural reception. Culture, maybe not so common in the West. In India, in many of the, particularly in the villages, it has always been the tradition. Every guest who comes to a home is considered to be the representative of God, and respect is given. But of course in the Western world we may not see this type of reciprocation. It cleanses, it softens the heart, helps us to realize we're not this body. That we're the eternal servants of the servant. Gopi Bhatu Parakamalam Dasa 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 Anudasa. The eternal servant of the servant, 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 servant. Our business is to serve. Try to awaken within others' hearts a spark of devotion towards Krishna and his devotees. Our spiritual master is Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Made it clear that this movement is for a cultural revolution. Not only the introduction of a joyful, wonderful process, a liberating process of Namasankirtan, but also a cultural revolution in terms of changing the paradigm or changing the perspective which we have of ourselves and the world, creating an environment favorable for the natural development of our constitutional nature of Krishna consciousness. So, a long time I've not been to your community here. How many years? I don't remember. Maybe 5 or 6, 7, I can't remember. But it's very kind of you to be here this evening, and we didn't expect such a warm welcome. Some of you have come from Zurich. Who has come from Zurich? Zurich. It's a funny name, isn't it? Everybody around the world thinks of Zurich or Zurich. You're rich. You're rich. It's got that name to it. How many of you came from Basel? Basel, wherever you're from. Hey, forcing the issue there. Let her speak for herself. Who came from Basel? You came? Anyone from Basel? Anyone else from Basel? Arrow? Arrow? Somebody came from Arrow. There we go, couple. Anywhere else? Lucerne? Genève? Anyone from Langenthal? Quite a few. Anywhere else in Switzerland or elsewhere? Bern. Oh yeah, of course, Bern's just around the corner. Who's from Bern? Okay. Burn. You have to burn the fire of Sankirtan. No one from St. Gallen? You call it St. Gallen? St. Gallen? St. Gallen? Is that the right pronunciation? St. Gallen. Nobody? We've done a few programs there in the past, I remember. Nice. Thank you. Jai Shri Prabhupada. So what do you want me to do? I just did that. I've run out of topics. Little kirtan or what? Little kirtan, because we've had lots of lovely kirtan. But we don't have songbooks, do you? Sufficient. No, you don't have song sheets. Do you have Parama? Sri Sri Gaura Nityananda Doya? You have that one? Sri Sri? Somebody calling?
No. For the song text.
Oh yeah, of course. The phone. The magic phone. Take up thy phone and search. You will find on your phone. Does anyone have a phone? No? I remember I asked a question, I may have been here once before, does anyone have a watch? And hardly, now I see more people wearing watches again now, but they didn't used to wear watches. Even I started wearing a watch again, about 20 years without. Phone. If you have a mobile phone, you can search on your mobile phone for this song of Lochan Das Thakur called Sri Sri Gaura Nityananda Daya, more commonly known as Parama Karuna. You have? Maybe you have it on the song sheets, maybe you have it in the songbooks. I have lots of French songbooks if anyone's interested. Yeah. Vaishnav shot. You got it. Yeah. Some devotees have mobiles, some have books. It's towards the end. It's a song of Lochan Das Thakur. Srila Prabhupada liked this song very much. Srila Prabhupada loved to sing bhajans. Most of the ones that Prabhupada regularly sung are in the ISKCON songbook. That's why they're there, because Prabhupada generally were the ones he sung. And this was one of them. And you have small... Are they deities just known as Gaura Nitai, or do they have a special name? Nitai Gaura Sundar? Nitai Gaura, that's very nice. That's appropriate for this song. And in Atlanta, in America, how many of you know the temple in America, in Atlanta? Anyone been there? No? We were staying there for some time, long time ago. Prabhupada was there. Pardon?
I just heard in the chat of our temple, one devotee shared that song, so they can click on the link of that song.
Oh, there's a link for this song.
Yeah, we have now.
You just have to click on the link. Well, that's nice. Well, the best use of your mobile, isn't it? To link with Nitai Gaura Chandra. The Prabhupada was very... When he saw the deities in Atlanta, Gaura Nitai, I can't remember their name. Maybe it was Nitai Gaura Chandra, I don't know. When he saw them, Prabhupada was always in ecstasy, but especially felt their personal presence and could barely sing the Mahamantra, to speak of this song. But he said the devotees should sing it every day there in Atlanta, glorifying Nitai Gaura Chandra. The beautiful song by Lochan Das. Prabhupada said we can sing the songs of Narottam Das, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Lochan Das, like authorized Vaishnavas. These are pure expressions from the heart of the Lord's eternal associates. So by repeating these expansions, Prabhupada would describe them as expansions of the holy name, expressions of devotion, even philosophical truths and guidance in order to cultivate the favorable devotional attitude. It's very beneficial to sing these bhajans, and they will be with us, just like Srila Prabhupada describes in the pastime of Gajendra the elephant. I'm seeing elephant here, you see, elephant. Gajendra the elephant, how he remembered a mantra from his previous lifetime when he was in a helpless condition. Not saved him from death, as well as saved him from Maya. So when we imbibe, not just learning the song is wonderful, but imbibe the meaning also. Take the meaning to heart. Meditate on the meanings. They're applicable. Different songs are bhajans, worship, are there expressions of different stages of devotional service. Some give a general outline of the process, some the practice, some the emotional results of practice, some the objective goal, some combination of all. Some to help us all, in fact, to help us to develop the humility and tolerance which is essential to grow in devotional service, respect for others, and so on. For this particular song, indicating the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. Parama Karuna, the most merciful. Who is more merciful than Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda? Topmost mercy, they are giving. Rupa Goswami says, Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate. No other avatar has given this freely, this opportunity to develop or awaken. Either one can be used. It's developing something which is innate, our natural love for Krishna, by their grace. Freely, anyone's eligible. I just showed a picture to 2 or 3 of the devotees here, one of our recent, not mine, but one other devotee from France, in France, who is preaching in Lyon and distributing books on the street. And one day, this person went by, we're not sure him, you could say a man, I guess, human, maybe, passed by, looking quite extraordinary, very strange, maybe from another planet. He passed by. The devotee tried to attract his attention. He retorted back, heavy metal. Heavy metal. He was dressed with spikes, metal spikes sticking out, skulls around his neck, things in his mouth sticking out, hair that looked like some vampire or something. All kinds of things, bullets all over the place. This black leather outfit with things hanging out in all directions. As he swirled through the park on his mission to spread the glories of heavy metal. And he just passed by. A few days later he came again and said, "What's this then? What's this? Is it about heavy metal?" And the devotee, quickly thinking what to say, what to do. Well, they saw the skulls and this. What do you believe in? Ghosts, spirits, the devil. Do you know what? You believe in ghosts and spirits, huh? Yeah. If your book talks something about heavy metal, I'll take it. He said, well, did you know who the Lord of the ghosts and the spirits is? Lord of ghosts and spirits? No. Who's that? Lord Shiva. And did you know that the Lord of Lord Shiva is Lord Krishna? What? And this book tells you about the Lord of your lords. Take the book. He took it. Quite an astonishing interaction. Somehow or another, the mercy of Lord Nityananda. Everyone is eligible to receive that mercy. Remember how covered one is. The soul is there. How to reach that soul somehow or another. It's hard. But it's by the mercy of Nityananda. They are freely giving this process. Freely. Not asking anything, just take it. In all the three worlds, no one is as merciful as they are. Of all the forms of God. And it's joyful, it's not like, although we sometimes it's called Oshiti, a medicine. Ene chibi usadi maya nashibaro lagi. They're bringing the medicine to cure us of the disease of Babarog, the disease of birth and death, the disease of this bodily, material platform of so-called life. Cures. And what is the medicine? Harinama Maha Mantra. Lohotumi Magi. The Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Although it's described like a medicine, it's very pleasant medicine. Sometimes children, when we give medicines, you have to make it into a nice sweet syrup. Otherwise they won't take it nice bitter. Oh, you say to your child, darling, come and take some horrible tasting bitter medicine. It tastes horrible. They won't come. Oh, take this nice sweet syrup. They may take. You have to coat it in a nice sweet way. Well, the Maha Mantra is not coated in a sweet way. It is the essence of sweetness. But it is presented in a nice sweet way. The Lord has come in this merciful form. He's come in this form of Namarupa. To give everyone this opportunity to associate with Him. And Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda have distributed this mercy far and near, and still are doing it through any fortunate soul who represents their representatives. Very joyful Ananda Kanda, very joyful path. Don't think that this dancing and chanting will not result in the ultimate perfection of life. It will. Lord Chandas assures us that simply by dancing and chanting one can attain the highest perfection of the love of Godhead. Simply. Even an animal can chant. Even animals, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was in the Jharkhand forest, he delivered the animals. Lions, tigers, elephants, deer, snakes, rhinoceroses, all were delivered. Monkeys. Because they're spirit soul. Lord Chaitanya's presence elevated the soul beyond the normal conditioning which they were undergoing. And they came to their, you could say, spiritual senses. They were dancing and chanting in the forest. What an experience. What an event that would be. If you go down the streets of Langenthal, and there are dogs and cats and horses and cows and chickens, and all creatures on the Sankirtan party, all dancing backwards and forwards with their wings up in the air, their poles in the air, whatever it is, their hoofs up in the air, dancing down the street of Langenthal and chanting the holy names of Krishna. World news. Sensational. We can't imitate that. We can't even get humans to do it, what to speak of animals. There's Lord Chaitanya's mercy. It is possible. It is possible. I've got this little book here. It's called Animals in Krishna Consciousness. Some of you got it. There's a picture of Lord Chaitanya in the Jharkhand forest. This is a picture of some animals. You can't see very well, probably. This is an elephant here, if you can't see. This is meant to be a worm. This was perhaps the only piece of artwork I did in my life, I think. This one here. I can't remember any other specifically. The snail, I like the snail. I couldn't do the elephant, that was someone else did that. That's why it's so good. But these few here, I did one or two I did of these. And this is a little book where the snail, or the worm, is talking to the snail. And it's about, well, as the title says, it's about animals in Krishna consciousness. And it does mention Lord Chaitanya and the Jharkhand, but mainly it's about animals in our present day in Krishna consciousness, and how unique Krishna consciousness is. Rupa Goswami describes this as the greatest welfare work. It is universally beneficial. It's not just specific to one group. That's the beauty of Krishna consciousness. Some people say, well, is this a religion? When people think of a religion, they think of a sectarian religion, basically. Judaism, Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, like that. Some belief system with a certain amount of, localized rituals and doctrines and what have you. Sometimes limited to its own practitioners, sometimes they are, let's say, spreading the word. But whatever it is, it's seen like that. It's another type of so-called religiosity. Krishna consciousness is not like that. These are universal principles. Nay, they're eternal. They're spiritual principles. A little different. They're not just a set of principles to elevate us from a particular condition to a somewhat better condition, with a goal of ultimately of approaching God. No, this is actually the message of the eternal nature of the self. And that applies to everyone. Doesn't matter whether we have a religious belief or not, whether we're a human or not, man, woman, black, white, old, young, animal, bird, beast, fish, insect, tree. It applies to every living entity. It's a matter of whether we take it or not, that's another thing, but the knowledge is the same for everyone. You're not your body, your eternal spirit soul, and this remembrance or realization can be achieved in different yugas, different ages by certain processes, but in this age, chanting Harinama, Harinama, Harinama eva kevalam. Kalona steva gatiranyata. Chanting of the holy name of Krishna is the only way. Harinam. And Lord Chaitanya personally demonstrated. In fact, he appeared in this world, according to Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, for two reasons. One, to taste the ecstasy of Vipulamba Bhav, the ecstasy of love of Godhead in separation, Krishna Prema, together with the congregational chanting of the holy name. In this way, he spread the Sankirtan movement along with his associates, even amongst the untouchables, those persons who are not generally speaking inclined, or not generally speaking following a favorable culture. He spread it amongst all. And in this way, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he wove, just like you make a garland, he wove a wreath. Sometimes in the cemetery you see people, they put a wreath there on the gravestone. He wove a wreath of the holy name and Krishna Prema with which he garlanded the entire material world. This is the Sankirtan movement. It is for everyone, irrelevant of our identification. They're all temporary. This process, sarvupadi vinirmuktam tatpadadvenanam, removes those false identities. Helps us to realize that we are Gopivata Padakamam, Dasa, 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 Anudas. We are the servant of the servant, 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 servant. Which means we serve our disciplic succession back to Krishna. And seeing that every living entity is Krishna's part and parcel, the devotee is thinking how to render service to my spiritual master, back to Krishna, by engaging all living entities in Krishna's service, so that Krishna's pleasure will increase. We, the animals, birds, beasts, we may not be, of course, able to imitate Lord Chaitanya, but Prabhupada, at least we can try to preach to the human beings. And in some cases, we can also see that animals, birds, there's one, I'll tell you one, some of these stories I was personally involved in, some not. There's one story in here, this, I titled it, called The Enchanting Chicken. Chicken. You know what chicken is? We don't usually think of a chicken as Krishna conscious. But this chicken, this is a story from Malaysia. Anyone from Malaysia? Anyone from Malaysia? Anyone been to Malaysia? You've been there. A few of you have been near Indonesia. Are you from Indonesia? Okay. Near to India. You're not from Malaysia. You're from South India. Sorry?
My father is from Malaysia.
Who was from living in? You were not. Were you born here or where? He came from Malaysia to here. Oh, Tamilian. So I have some Tamil books in my car if you're interested. I come prepared for all kinds. Or the car we're in, I have a car. Malaysia. Anyway, we have a temple in Malaysia. We have 20 or 30 temples in Malaysia. But anyway, this is one of them in Kuala Lumpur, if you ever heard of that. KL. So, one day, the deity greeting at 7:30, curtains open, and we see at the back of the room, there is a chicken. Yeah, it's a little open in Malaysia. It's not so closed like in the West. Animals and birds, they move around a bit easier. The back doors of the temple were wide open, they're very warm. And at the back, just on the veranda, looking straight at the deity, there was a chicken, and the chicken was jumping up and down. quack, 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 like the chickens go. They don't go like that. That's a dove. Someone imitate a chicken. Come on. Who can do it? Come on. Who can do a chicken? Come on. Who's a chicken? Yeah, that was pretty good. You must have chickens in Ecuador. He was flapping his wings, jumping up and down, and doing Abhishek at the same time, and making nice sounds, giving everything to Krishna. Huh? That chicken, apparently, we didn't know, no one didn't seem to be long. It was living in a bush across the road somewhere, but it came every morning at 7:30 for daily greeting without fail, and did its dance, and sang, and did an Abhishek every morning. More or less. Quite extraordinary. So we, after a while, because, it was a bit messy, so we took the chicken to our farm near Kuala Lumpur, and the chicken spent the rest of its life at the farm. And the same thing, it would go every day to the temple, and when the daily greeting happened, it would start jumping up and down, flapping its wings, and making a chicken sound. It could poop as much as it liked, because it was, a farm of earth, no problem. But when I went there one time to the farm, as I was getting out of the car, the chicken came running up to me, doing woo, and behind it was a puppy dog, which also came up. And wherever the chicken went, the puppy went. When the chicken would sometimes eat off of a plate, the chicken and the puppy together eating off of the same plate, prasadam. And whenever the chicken went to the temple, the puppy would go to the temple. He had a disciple. Become a guru. You can imagine a chicken. Level of consciousness is a little lower. But see, even there, this chicken voluntarily, wasn't forced to, voluntarily connected with Krishna. And connected others with Krishna, connected a puppy dog with Krishna. It rises above all these bodily designations, Krishna consciousness. Probably the most famous story in here, in modern terms, that is the story of one of our animals, in one of ours, a cow. In Malaysia, not so much now, but we're going back 40 years. This is in the mid-80s, almost 40 years ago. I was living in Malaysia for years. We had one program in a village in the hills. Very simple people, Indian people working in a rubber plantation. And they are very pious. They have the temple of Aman, Aman being, Mother Durga, in the form of Mother Durga. And in that village they had a temple of Ramchandra also, Sita Ram, Lakshman, Hanuman. Quite a few of them were from Andhra Pradesh. They're Telugus. And Telugus are very inclined towards the worship of Sita Ram, particularly. So there's a nice little Sita Ram temple, very small. And there were some devotees who'd been going to that village. Some of the devotees had actually been born in that village, and they'd come back again and to meet families and stuff. And they started a little preaching there. When we say a village, it's basically it's a rubber plantation. All the people there work on the rubber plantation. That's the only reason it exists. And there's probably about 500 to 600 people living in the village, all working in the plantation. And they started to preach in that village, and because of Sitaram Temple, the priest was favourable, so started to do a weekly program in that village. So I went for the program one week, back in 84 or 5, probably 5. And when we were just arriving, this cow suddenly wandered into the temple room too. They're open, the temples are not closed doors, they're just like a roof, and altar and open sites, more or less. So this cow came in, nothing unusual. Cow stood there and passed cow dung. Now you might think, oh my God, and a cow comes in and passes cow dung all over your nice floor. Now you're devoted, so you may think, oh, that's wonderful, but in general people think, oh my goodness, how disgusting. But very auspicious, it's considered very auspicious for that to happen. So the cow did, and the cow stayed. And this was the first time, I think the first time the cow came, I was there. And that you can't see from where you are, you can look afterwards. There's a picture there of the cow standing with us. And I actually had a bag of laddu, so I put the laddu down, and the cow very enthusiastically honored the laddu. And there are some of the local boys there next to me. I was a bit younger then. In fact, this little teeny boy here is about 13 on this picture. And if any of you know Jayapataka Swami, anyone met Jayapataka Swami Maharaj? Some of you have obviously seen him. But his main servant is from Malaysia. His name is Mahavira. That's that little boy there. He just came, lived in the village. He was from that village. Now he's been 15 years traveling with Jayapataka Maharaj constantly. He's his number one servant. The one on the left his body last year. He eventually built a big temple in this village, Krishna temple in the village. He was the head priest, and he became the main spiritual person in the whole village. Extraordinary village. At least 40 full-time devotees came from that village. At least 40. There's only 500 or 600 people living there. And one of them was a cow. And it became this cow here. This cow started coming to every single program without fail. Every week on time, and stay for the whole program. Sit down, there's a picture of her coming in. That's her entering we started the program across the road. We got our own place after a while. And she would come every week for the program, sit down at the back with the ladies, never with the men. There she is. She was a cow, not a bullock. She would sit with the ladies at the back every week. And if the lecture was in Tamil, she would be quite attentive. When it was in English or Malay, she wasn't so into it. She's a bit distant in that picture. But she still sits there. She would never leave. Sometimes she would bring other cows to the program. This is a picture of the cow. The cows just right outside, just like on the edge of the temple. They wouldn't come in. They'd sit there during the program and then eat afterwards. They wouldn't come in, but she would bring them to the program. 10, 20 cows sometimes would come along. And she would take part in dramas. We'd tell her what to do. She'd move over there, move over there, move over there, sit down. She was like, amazing. I've never seen a cow like this. Incredible. There's many, many stories of her in various postures. There she is. If it was Go Puja, she would just walk up, stand there. As soon as the arati was finished, she'd just move back. There she is in one drama with the devotees at the end. She would never harm anyone. She would be very careful the way she moved. She would sit down for prasadam, stand up for kirtan. She would sit down with a leaf plate in front of her. I mean, what can you say? Not an ordinary cow. And there were a few other similar incidences in this little booklet about a few animals, a few birds, who, by various ways, clearly show they're not the body. They're, in many ways, more devotional than we can imagine. Yes, this Krishna consciousness movement is for everyone. And even animals, with prasadam, they hear the holy name, even the trees and the birds, the flowers, the leaves, the grass, everything in fact is Krishna's energy, and this Sankirtan movement spiritualizes everything. That's the idea. The sound of the holy name penetrates, purifies the environment, purifies the heart. And maybe it takes a little while in the beginning, it takes a while before the layers are worn away and you start to see the light a little bit. People are very covered. But this is the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lochan Das Thakur, he regrets that he still has material desires. If one wants to actually taste the sweet nectar of this holy name, one has to be willing to let go of material desires. It doesn't mean that material desires will not be there. They come into our minds as a result of present and past association. Just like we meet people on the street, but that doesn't mean we have to associate with them. So the desires may come into the body of the mind, into the plane of the mind, but we don't have to identify with them. These desires come and go. Krishna says they come and go, just like clouds come and go in the sky. They're temporary. They come and go. But if we identify with them, those desires come in our minds and our hearts. If we meditate on them, we're talking of material desires. If we follow the train of thought, we can be dragged far away from Krishna consciousness, from the vehicle of the mind, the desires therein. But if one doesn't take particular notice, they come and they go. But rather one turns to Krishna when those thoughts come into our hearts or mind. One turns to Krishna. When he's dangerous on the gross platform, it's easier to identify this is a danger, whatever it may be. And we may think of Krishna or cry to Krishna, God save me. Krishna, Hare Krishna, whatever. But with ones within are not necessarily seen by others, but they're more dangerous in many ways. They drag our consciousness away. So they chant, take shelter of Krishna. Dangerous place. Take shelter of Krishna. When they come and go like this. But it doesn't mean that they won't come, but they'll go if we don't, Prabhupada said, if you have an unwanted guest, you don't feed them. So if you want to get rid of me, you know what to do. Just don't feed me. And like that, there's desires in the mind. Like that. So, but we have to be freed of this attachment to those mundane desires by becoming more attached to the holy name, to Krishna. But Lochan Das Thakur laments that unfortunately he has no attraction for the holy name because, of course, he's comparing himself to us. Because we're still attached to the material world. We're still attached to our conceptions. We're still attached to the pleasures that we may have obtained in the past from this so-called pleasures of this material life. And what people will think of me. This false ego, still governed by the false ego. And thus we're being punished by Yamaraj. It's not that Yamaraj wants to punish us, but if we still remain attached like this, then that's what happens, you could say. So still, anyway, this is the mood of the pure devotees. They feel they have no devotion. Prabhupada also was like that. Thought he had no devotion. I'm not a devotee. Not qualified. We're trying to serve the devotees. You are devotees. When he was asked one time in London by some nuns, are you the spiritual master of this movement? Prabhupada said, I'm trying to be the servant of this movement. I'm not qualified. This is the heart of the pure devotee. Feels very unqualified, but takes full shelter of the qualified. This is where the protection lies, when we take shelter of the Lord and His internal energy. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama. So are we ready? Anyone like to venture on the harmonium? Are you the harmonium man or the mridanga man? You were mridanga man earlier on. You were harmonium. Well, you're going to have to be very expert to follow me. We've heard about chickens and cows, and now an ass will try to sing. The braying of an ass. What to do? If you're not das, you're ass. One, make your choice, das or ass. I don't know, in German that probably doesn't rhyme. German language, it's not. English language is, Shakespeare, everything has to rhyme. Everything has to rhyme, it's poetic, mundane poetry. Hare Krishna, or the grunting of a hog. I was a very good hog in my last life. That's why I was born. The town I was born in was called Pig Hill. Pig Hill. That's why I've always loved Lord Jagannath. So that's my favourite. Madanga? Oh, yeah, Madanga. Okay, you ready? Water. You may wait a little bit till I get, I'm not, whatever. I'm not good at anything, but I'm certainly not good at singing. Parama Karuna Pavudvijana. Now you'll find there's two ways of doing this. And Naranjan Swami sings a little differently, and we also sing like that sometimes. But this is the, I don't know what you call it, tune, meter, I don't know, which we used to sing in the early days. Parama Karuna Pahudvijana Nitai Gaura Chandra. Don't sing too loud. Vijana Nitai Gaura Chandra. I'm sure you can do better than that. One more time. Parama Karunana Pahudvijana Nitai Gaura Chandra. Come on, louder. I must have my earplugs in. Sabhavatara Shiromani Kevalananda Kanda. Getting old. Sabhavatara Shara Shiromani Kevalananda Kanda. Bai Chaitanya Nitaya Sudhita Vishwasa Gaura Bhajo Bhajo Bai Chaitanya Nitaya Sudhita Vishwasa Gaura Bhajo Bhajo Bai Chaitanya Nitaya Sudhita Vishwasa Gaura Vishaya Charya Terase Majiya Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari Vishaya Charya Terase Majiya Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari Dekore pai Tribhuvane nahe Hemon doyala data Dekore pai Tribhuvane nahe Hemon doyala data Dekore pai Tribhuvane nahe Immona doyala data Pasupakhi jure Pashanna vidure Shunijara gunagata Asupakhi jure Pashana vedare Shunijara gunagata Asupakhi jure Pashana vedare Shunijara gunagata Samsare Majiya Rohile Poriya Sepade Nahilo Asho Poriya Sepade Nahilo Samsare Majiya Rohile Poriya Sepade nahilo asha Rohile poriya Sepade nahilo Apana karama Punje shamana Ohelo channadasa Apana karama unje shamana kohe lochana dasa Karana lochana dasa Parama karuna Paramakaruna Pahuduvijana Nitai Gaura Chandra Makaruna Pahuduvijana Nitai Gaura Chandra Nitai Gaura Chandra Nitai Gaura Chandra Nitai Gaura Chandra Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Nitai Gaura Chandra, Nitai Gaura Chandra, Nitai Gaura Chandra, Jaya Nitai Gaura Chandra, Nitai Gaura Chandra, Nitai Gaura Chandra, Nitai Gaura Chandra, Jaya Nitai Gaura Chandra, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Baladeva Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Radha Radha Kanta, Radha Radha Kanta Radhe. Hara Gaura Nitai Gaura Nitai Gaura Chandra Jai Shri Shri Nitai Gaura Chandra ki Jai Parama Karuna ki Jai Shri Lochandas Thakur ki Jai Gaura Prema Hare Krishna. So any questions? Any questions? No. Oh, question.
I just want to know the name of your book with the animals.
The name?
The name of your book.
Animals in Krishna Consciousness.
Krishna consciousness.
Animals in Krishna Consciousness. Now, what inspired me to write this book, besides having told many of these stories over a period of many years and decades ago, these are mostly all from the 80s. The one godbrother, his name is Kavi Chandra Swami. Somehow he used to come to Malaysia. He heard one sometimes about these stories I told about animals. And so he was very curious. And he said, Maharaj, please put this into a book and make sure I'm the first one in the book. Because frankly speaking, when we look at ourselves, we hardly come up to the level of animals in some cases. I mean, prior to the fortune of meeting Prabhupada, but our behavior, our dealings with other living entities, our integrity, you name it, is very questionable. Duipadu Pashu at best. This means two-legged animals. I was listening to a lecture this morning. Prabhupada was talking, and somebody was arguing with Prabhupada. Prabhupada was saying, but you have to bow down, you have to surrender. You're not independent. You may think like that, but you're not. You have to die, you can't stop it. And Prabhupada said, do you know what death is? You know what death is? Someone was questioning. You know what death is? The man said, no, or something. And Prabhupada sort of half laughing. He said, I'm not sure. Then you don't know who, I don't know who you, not even sure. I don't know if you're a human being then. We're not sure. You don't know what death is. It means you're not a human being. Human life begins with religiosity, genuine religiosity, not some falsity. Otherwise, it's not really human life. So. Anyway, besides that, of course, Kavi Chandra Maharaj is a greatly elevated Vaishnava. Materially speaking, yes, we're coming from, animals. I have a poem, I don't have it with me. Can't remember it. It's written by somebody, of course. Nothing happens by chance. But it's about monkeys. You may know it, on a coconut tree or something. And they're surmising about the nature of human race. And it's a great disgrace that they say that humans came from our race. You never catch a monkey, murdering the baby in the womb. No. Doing all kinds of crazy things that we do. Totally, what can we say? Godless society, almost. Thinking that we're the controllers, the masters, the lawgivers. What humility? What humility? We know what's going on. We will conquer the universe. There is no life on any other planet. We haven't seen it, therefore it doesn't exist. We have seen the other side of the universe. You can't even see inside this planet. Yet they claim to see the other side of the universe. It doesn't take much of a brain substance to realize what, bluff. Missing the point of life. And unfortunately, the mass of people are indoctrinated to follow such miseducation, misinformation. And to educate is not an easy thing. Culture. Jai Shri Prabhupada. We have in here also, I'll read you the first not the introduction, it's called the preface. Well, no, this is the contents. You want to know what the book's about. Contents. There's not many pages, actually. It's only 76, I think. 76 pages. 76 pages. 1 to 76. Worms, snail. This is the like you have you buy a tin of food, and you have written there contents, right? So this is the contents of this container, this vessel. Worms, snails, cows, dogs, chickens, cockatoos, cats, slugs, rats, mice, bulls, elephants, parrots, and human beings. That's what the contents are. Strictly not for human consumption. For hearing only, best for vegetarians, but can also cure the disease of being non-vegetarian. Good for children and persons of simple hearts. Directions, how to prepare it. You mix the contents, which you've just heard, with compassion and devotion and a sense of humor. Keeping Sri Krishna and his most merciful form, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the center, relish the contents to your heart's content. Hare Krishna. Unfortunately, the pictures were gathered like 20 years after the events and were found in cupboards or in reject places and so on. So we had no very good pictures in most cases. And they were the old style pictures and they'd lost their colour. The old photographs, they'd lose their colour. They would just be like, very faint reproduction after 20 years or so. So we haven't got very good copies, but you can still make it out. This is, by the way, a copy of our copy. They kindly reprinted it in India, naturally without asking, but anyway, it's fine. So I get them from the devotees in India now. Hare Krishna. If you want to have a look, you're welcome. Anything else? That was a very philosophical question. Thank you for that. That's about the level of my guitar. I don't know if I know much more. Yes.
Maharaj, we got this great gift from our Guru and Krishna. How we can really appreciate it or reciprocate it. Sometimes we forget it. And
what gift have you got?
What gift?
Pardon? What gift? You say you've got a great gift, so tell me what that gift is. If you know what the gift is, the question becomes...
so much happiness in my life from Krishna consciousness.
We want to associate with you. So what do you do if you have something very nice? If you're... Well, of course, it's a little different, but I mean, if you have the medicine... We have the example of Ramanujacharya when he received the mantra Om Namo Narayanaya from his Guru Maharaj. What did he do?
He distributed to everyone.
Yeah, he wanted to give it to everyone. Why? Because if this mantra is so powerful that anyone can be liberated, get free from going to hell and go back to Godhead and so on, why should not everyone have it? So if you really want to show your gratefulness, you have to distribute that to others. Simple as that. You're happy? That's wonderful to hear. That's very nice to hear you say that. Thank you. So give that the method, the means by which the gift which you've been given, you just have to share it with others. That's Lord Chaitanya's movement. That's what he's asking us to do. Yadadeki tarakara Krishna upadesha maragaya gurutan adidesha. As you've received this gift, you give it to others. Distribute. Nityananda Prabhu is the most merciful gateway to love of Godhead. Can't get the ripened fruit of love of Godhead without his mercy. And it's said that to get his mercy, you have to give this Krishna consciousness to the Jagais and the Madhais. Distribute it. Share this Krishna consciousness with others wherever you go. This is Lord Chaitanya's mission. That will be showing your gratefulness and your reciprocation with your beloved Guru Dev and the Parampara. Who is your Guru Maharaj?
His name is Bhakti Raghava Swami.
Bhakti Raghava Maharaj, what a kind, merciful devotee. Even in his time in Bengal, literally risking his limbs for spreading Krishna consciousness all over Bengal, now all over the world in so many ways. So, yes, he's given you this opportunity. I don't know what specific instructions he's given. Usually it's related to Varna and Ashram. So you try to practice what you hear. If we sincerely try to practice what gift we've been given, then realizations will come, and naturally you want to give it to others or share it. You want to fulfill that intent, that desire of the spiritual master with others, naturally. A Vaishnava is not a miser. Brahmin is one who wants to share. Paradukha-dukhi. He doesn't sit idle. He's unable to tolerate the sufferings of others. So he preaches. Preach. Anything else? Where's Rasananda? Any questions? Yes, I think 2 hands have gone up. That one went first. Yes.
Yeah, it just came to my mind, are there also animals on the higher planets?
Is there anger?
Animals.
Pardon?
Animals.
Animals in the highest planets? Yes.
Higher planets.
Yes. There are animals in the spiritual realm also. Lord Indra, for instance, is riding an elephant. Yes, there are. There'll be more, let's say, as human beings are more evolved in the higher planets in terms of their consciousness, the animals will also be, generally speaking, more refined also. But they're still animals. They may have much more consciousness. We sometimes hear of animals having, practically speaking, they're communicating with the humans and so on higher planets. They have a particular form by desire and karma. And karma works in amazing ways. You may have, even on this planet, you can be born, for instance, as a dog in the gutters of Calcutta, or you can be born as a dog in the house of a billionaire in Los Angeles. Both dogs, right? One dog is, goes on holidays, has his own, car, everything. They do, and the dogs are treated and they have hotels for dogs only. They have shopping malls for dogs. They have supermarket, dogs only. The supermarkets for dogs. And they're all dressed up, living in luxury. They don't even have to work for it. Pretty good karma. Just happen to be there. Some good karma and some bad karma mixed. You could be a street dog in Calcutta, and people kicking. Maybe not in Calcutta, at least the Indian people. In some places they kick, but some places they eat you, and some places they chase you, shoot you. Different karmas are there, even on this planet, higher and lower, so to speak, of the universe. Yeah. Yeah, there certainly are animals there. Somewhere here. Yeah.
You talked about how the material desires, they will be always there, but we just don't identify. And I was thinking, sometimes I personally, I go what I experience through the senses, what gives me pleasure. This is for me the happiness, no? And sometimes this tendency for the material enjoyment is so deep rooted that the conviction that the spiritual things will give me happiness is not so strong, because my whole lifetime, or even so many lifetimes, I experience material pleasure.
Have you ever experienced distress?
Yes, every day.
Every day. Don't forget, there's not just pleasure there. You make it sound like you're living in heaven forever or something. That's why it's hard in the heavenly planets. It's harder in the heavenly planets because people are experiencing a higher and more, regular form of pleasure, much more than we are. We have mixed, and in some ways it's more on the negative side than the positive side, depending on your experience. But certainly there is, suffering, both dukkha and sukha, both there in the earth planets. So you do get to see that. The hellish planets or the lower planets, there's two different things. The hellish planets is all suffering. The lower planets are not necessarily suffering, they're just godless. They're just godless completely. The hellish planets is suffering, and there's no time to think of anything else practically. Just trying to tolerate or avoid. The earth planets mix, so you in your own words, you have both. So you have to make that choice. The choices which we make in our lives, as you say, past experience, of course, are predominantly driving us on, but we also have a present situation of association. So generally let's say the intentions which we have, our initiatives, our convictions are molded by association. So if you want to have that conviction or grow, to develop that confidence, that conviction about the happiness of devotional service, then it's generally in the association of devotees. Satam pasangam mamavir sangvido bhavanti vidkarna vasayana kataha. In the association of devotees you can taste that rasa, that nectarian taste. On your own it will be difficult because you're associating with whatever, mostly as you say, your mind. You've so long been aspiring for material pleasures for a long, long time. It takes time to renovate or change that. And as far as a higher point is to remember is that in the material world, yes, the driving force is to satisfy my desires and the senses through which we try to satisfy those desires. But the higher point is, and this is where real pleasure comes from, and one of the reasons we don't experience this higher taste is because we're still trying to superimpose our material experiences in the process of devotional service. How I feel. Does it please me? Now in the beginning that will definitely be a primary, you could say, consideration. You won't take up devotional service at all, whether you believe the philosophy or not, if you don't get some pleasure there. And if it doesn't satisfy your senses, You've either got a bit more advanced, a bit patient, you're a fool, or whatever it may be. And you're just very, very strongly faith. Your faith is very strong, something like that. Because in the beginning, generally, that will be the case. You're looking for something that satisfies your senses, a higher taste. Param drishta nivartate. Which we all did. I mean, devotees love the kirtan. I'm coming from, I don't know if anyone's same generation, the 1960s. We were looking for, high taste in music and intoxications, and sex life and things like that. That generation. And we found more satisfaction from chanting and dancing. It wasn't like, I wasn't thinking, oh, now I'm pleasing Krishna. I was thinking, now I'm happier. I'm not feeling so much misery. I wasn't thinking that. My life is to please Krishna. We may have heard it and read it, but we weren't necessarily thinking. You may not be thinking like that. But that's where real pleasure comes from, when we have no more thoughts about, well, what about me? How I feel. A lot of the problems in our movement seem to be based on this. Big ones, maha problems. Based upon me and how I feel. Who cares a damn about how you feel except for you? Most people hope you don't feel very good. Get out of my eye. It doesn't mean anything to anyone else, how you feel. This is the ego, false ego of the material world. It's all about me and how I feel. Devotional service is a transformation. We don't start at the end. The whole point is to give up this mentality of what I want, I like, I feel, I this, I that. Of course it takes time. It takes association, it takes austerity, by the way. Without austerity it never happened. Some kind of austerity. The austerity is already there, 4 regulated principles, rising early, whatever it is, some different things are there. Chanting regularly. On beads, these are, you could say, austerities for Kali Yuga, but you can't just stay, you should be developing if you want to reach that transformative stage. We're here, even if we do, Prabhupada, look at what Srila Prabhupada went through. He didn't have to do what he did. Come to the West, in his poem Markandeya Bhagavat Dharma, Prabhupada said, why have you brought me to this hellish place? Now he's talking about, Boston, New York. Why have you brought me to this hellish place? Now most people think, my God, how lucky I am to be here. This is like, heaven on earth, New York, Well, some people think like that. America, anyway. But I said, why you brought me? You must have some purpose of bringing me here. Please do what you wish with me. Make me dance as you wish. This is the actual mood of devotion. How patient Prabhupada has to be with all of us, and we're still mainly thinking about, I don't like this, I don't like that devotee, he upset me, I don't feel good about this. That's at best a mixed form of devotional service. Conditional. So that way, unfortunately, as you rightly said, it's not always so easy to maintain stability or enthusiasm or the strength not to become, let's say, a servant again of material desires. Because we're still basing it on the similar premise that I am the enjoyer. We can all understand it takes a little time for that transformation to take place. That we exist, this is the bottom line. We exist wholly and solely for the pleasure of Krishna, for no other reason. Pretty hard to take that one. And that's what the spiritual masters try to show and teach. And you can see that with Prabhupada. How he obviously is living only, and that's seen through the pure devotees and their relationship with their guru. Prabhupada's inspiration to spread Krishna consciousness, of course it came from his own guru, you could say. Also an eternal inspiration being a pure devotee, but from the practical point of view, Prabhupada said it came from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary on Vyavasayatmika Buddhiri Keo Kurunanda. Comes from this verse in the second chapter of Gita, where Vishwanath Chakravarti says that the goal of my sadhana practice and my sadhya, my goal of life, is simply to please my spiritual master, to serve him. That's my only goal. Whether I'm happy or not is irrelevant. It has no meaning. Whether I'm in heaven or hell, it doesn't matter. The goal of my life is to surrender myself to his instruction, to serve him, to please him in this way. That's how you really make advancement, by the mercy of the pure devotee in Krishna. Otherwise, it's a slow process. Vishaya Charya Serosi Majya. Just sang it, huh? Mukhe Bolori Hari. If we really want to have a taste in chanting, then Vishaya Charya, we've got to let go of this. Sense gratification isn't just something out there, it's the mentality which we have of seeing myself as the enjoyer. If we want to go to Vrindavan, Narottam Thakur says, Ishayo Charya Kabe Shuddha Viman Kabe Hama Herabo Shri Vrindavan. Want to go to Vrindavan? It's not just a matter of getting a Swiss Air flight to Delhi and taking a 3,000 rupee taxi to Vrindavan, staying in the MVT, complaining about the aircon, why there's no pizzas on the menu tonight. Those pesky monkeys, get rid of them. They're the Dambasas, by the way. We're the intruders, in one sense. They're born in the Dhammas. They're home. A mosquito. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, one time he was in Mayapur, and there's 2 seasons in Mayapur, you know that? It's only 2. Mosquito season and fly season. Daytime is fly season, nighttime is mosquito season. As soon as the sun starts going down, the mosquitoes come in. So there were so many flies, he was giving a darshan. Flies everywhere. They can be quite annoying. Flies can be just as annoying as mosquitoes, and they may not bite so much. And they're trying to flick him off. And back to his and I said, no, do not harm them. They are Dambasis. I am an outsider. I am becoming purified by the touch of their feet. He said, they're Dambasis. What a way to see things. Huh? That was just see it like that. Different way of seeing things. Takes time. But in the association of devotees, that's the whole idea. To create a culture, an atmosphere which is attractive. Because we're not on that platform of realization. We're still depending upon the here and now, upon the situation of the environment around us. This takes time. Anything else? Yes.
Thank you very much. Can you talk more about how to shift our consciousness from the mentality I am the enjoyer to Krishna as the enjoyer, from the mentality... How we can develop, how to develop that consciousness. Well, you're talking to the best person here because I'm rooted in the mentality of I am the enjoyer. And it's a very good meditation, isn't it? Well, the practical aspect of it, well, maybe we can all understand something of that. We've heard something of that. We associate with those who, of course, association is a key factor. In any transformation, association is key, paramount. So if you don't have the physical association, you hear by other forms. In the absence of the physical association is the instruction. So we hear in many different ways. You have so many books, so many lectures, so many conversations, etc., to hear from those who are more or completely in that consciousness of the pleasing Krishna, Krishnendriya. So we can hear from them. Now the other side is when we hear, what we hear from them is what is appropriate for us to hear. And we have to know what is relevant. We try to put that into practice in our lives. For instance, now everyone's in a different position, so this may be not for everyone, but for a devotee living in the temple or those at home, for instance, who are serious, they get up early in the morning, 4 o'clock or whatever it is. They do a regulated morning program. You have an altar in your house. You offer all your food to the altar, to the deity or the picture. You do an arti. You sing and dance in front of the altar. You read, study, you chant japa. You keep the temple room clean. You keep the house clean. You try to remember what would Krishna want, what would please Krishna, how to please Krishna. This is how we do it. It's practical, it's mechanical, it's sadhana. But this is how we come to that natural, spontaneous execution of devotion, and finally the absorption in the reality that that's what I am, not just that's what I want to be. So that practical program which the pure devotees have given us by their example and by their teachings is the methodology. It's in one sense simple, in another sense it's not always so simple, but in one sense it's not that difficult. We just have to hear and regularly apply it in our lives. Because you're making your house. You have a house or you live here?
We live in the ashram.
So you're in the ashram, so you have the temple room here. So it's the same principle. You're cooking. Why you're cooking? You're cooking, of course, for ourselves as well, but primarily you're offering it to Krishna. You're hearing about Krishna. You're cleaning the temple, building. Otherwise you probably wouldn't, maybe you would, maybe you wouldn't. Some people would, some wouldn't. Clean your house in the same way, but you clean it nicely. If Krishna likes to see it like that. You decorate the room for Krishna's pleasure. You're not putting up a picture of your grandmother or your boyfriend. I don't see it. Maybe Krishna's your boyfriend, I don't know. But yeah. Most people's houses, they've got all kinds of nonsense pictures hanging up, right? Some different things, whatever mode they're in. And then they got the television, the one-eyed guru of the West, I used to call it, the one-eyed guru of the West. You have a television in your ashram? Who's the president here? Who's the president? Anyone know? He's shy. Who's the president? Do you hear that? The poor girls do not have a television in their ashram. This is really uncivilized cruelty. But they do have a mobile, unfortunately. I remember one of them's got one, and 2 or 3 or whatever it is. Computers, mobiles, you've got all these other things. You know, but to see how you can use everything for Krishna. Think how you can use everything for Krishna's pleasure, that's all. Conscious, be conscious. How I can use my body, my mind, my talents, what we call mine, whatever I've been given, money, etc., for Krishna, to serve him. Think about it. How we can use this building more for Krishna's pleasure. It's not a place for eating and sleeping, Prabhupada said. It's a place where we, go out and spread Krishna consciousness, or whatever it is when people come, share Krishna consciousness, cultivating our relationship with Krishna. And being conscious of how we can use whatever, make everything pleasing to Krishna the best we can. You decorate the temple, you decorate the deities, you keep everything clean. Why? You don't have to. But you cook for Krishna. You don't have to do that. You're doing it. This is the process of transformation. Remembering that we are here to serve Krishna's will, to serve his will. Preaching is Krishna's. Bhagavad Gita is Krishna's written will. Study the Gita and try to practically apply it. Don't just speak about it, but try to realize that's for us. To cultivate those qualities, practically apply them in our lives. Nice, thank you for reminding us all. Okay, there's getting late. And we have to drive to Zurich. We still need 300,000 euros to fix New Mayapur, so the government doesn't close us down. They threatened to close us down a week ago.
No.
Yes. They didn't, because we did the work. By the Lord's mercy and the devotee's kindness, we managed to raise it. We had to raise 500,000 euros in 3 months and to fix the castle. And Krishna provided it through kind devotees. So we had to replace the guest house, castle and guest house. So now the totally computerized central alarm system, which will probably go off at 2 o'clock every morning. They sometimes do these modern systems. When there's nothing happening, it suddenly goes off. Anyway, we've got it, so the government's satisfied now. And the electricity has been completely redone in the whole castle and the guest house. We hope up to their liking. Now we have to fix all the sewage and all fire doors everywhere, and even the laundry has to be in a fireproof room. So many things they're asking, this, that, the other. What to do? Kali Yuga. One devotee suggested, well, let's just not use electricity. Good idea, huh? Save money on electricity, save 150,000 on fixing the electricity in the castle. Good idea. No electricity. What are you going to use? Yeah. You think the health and safety department, were the ones who were forcing us to do this, will be very happy. Okay, we're not going to use electricity, you don't have to worry about it. So what are you going to do? Oh, we're going to have candles. We're going to use some oil lamps, you know. That would be 100 times more disturbing to them than the bad electrical system, huh? Imagine that. You know. The number of fires that have been caused by candles in ISKCON temples. So many. Yeah, you have to do it if you want to stay open. If you want the public to come in, the main reason is because we're using it again for public, that you have to bring it up to this standard if you're going to have public. It's that law. What to do? You have to follow it. You don't have to. We could just close the place. That isn't what Prabhupada wanted. So the Krishna's grace. And what is money anyway? It's just Krishna's energy being moved around from here to there. We just try not to waste it, that's all. Hare Krishna. Please visit New Mayapur if you have a spare time. In the spring and summer are the best times. Winter's, like everywhere, and especially in France, is a bit bleak. Deities are beautiful. Who's been to New Mayapur in France? Let me see, put my glasses on. Quite a few of you have been there. Gorgeous deities, huh? Krishna Balaram, the only deities of Krishna Balaram installed by Srila Prabhupada outside of India. In the whole of ISKCON, or in New Mayapur. There are Krishna Balaram deities all over the place, but they were not installed by Prabhupada. Only in New Mayapur. Vrindavan and New Mayapur are the only two places. And beautiful Radha Govinda Madhava, Gaura, and we have Radha Parasishwar, Nitai Sachi Sutta in Paris, and Jagannath in Paris. A few years ago there were more deities than there were devotees. It's a fact. Now the balance has gone a little bit the other way. But we're trying to distribute a few books. We just had a new calf for the first time in about, I think, 30 years or something, I don't know. A long time since there was a new calf at New Mayapur. Just 3 days ago? 3 days ago? Yeah, 3 days ago. New calf born. Little Mangala, little cow, baby cow. We just bought two new cows, dairy cows, about 6 months ago. So the Goshala, built a new Goshala. There's two Goshalas now, one for the old ones, one for the young ones. And we hope that the Goshala will start growing again after decades. Trying to fix up a few buildings here and there by the help of others. You try your best. You can't satisfy everyone, but if we try to satisfy Krishna, that's what we can say. Do what Prabhupada would want. Prabhupada is showing us what Krishna wants. We can't imitate, we just, like children growing up, we do what we can. Gradually we'll learn what Krishna wants. And you know more than anyone, you're in the world of Varnashram, right? Everybody knows what a challenge that is to, put in practical ways the principle of Varnashram in a way which is, effective or practical or whatever. Theories, but practical application is what really is going to make the change. That starts with your own heart, playing your part. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande. Hare Krishna, Hare